you mentioned something that I was hoping we could strike on, and that's the failed business owner turned business coach, which obviously, you as a business owner have been, wildly successful on so many endeavors, both personal and, again, in the shadows. And I'll be the first to vouch for your wisdom and acumen in the space. You seem to be someone who runs their own race, which is obviously like a respectable attribute. There are going to be coaches that listen to this that go, I need help. And they don't, if they're at that point, a lot of times desperations involve stagnation in their business, their client acquisition process, maybe even their systems at a programming level, maybe their education or their inability to find their own voice, anything that you've touched on so far. Each one of those probably could be, marginally improved and have a big impact on their bottom line. Now, in this, let's call it more desperate state, desperate times call for desperate measures. There's a lot of people out there looking to take money to tell you how to make more money. And the number one rule in making more money is spend less money if you want to make more money. What is, you've been around this space for a while and you've seen it through a lot of lenses and you wear a lot of hats. In the appraisal process of a coach who might be in a position where like their business isn't where they want it to be, what are some, let's do a motivation thing, let's do a push-pull. What are things that you should be drawn towards and attributes you should be looking for when looking to bring someone on to assist you with your business? And then on the other side of it, what are some things and some attributes, buzzwords, activities, practices that you should run away from when it comes to appraising people who are, potentially just trying to make their first successful business as a business coach?
Yeah. I think if we liken this back to a quote in School of Rock, those that can't teach Jim, right? It's a very similar situation, right? For a lot of coaches that get into this industry, they go through their thing, they go through the process and they find out like, hey, running a business is fucking hard. It's really easy to tell other people to do this. I'm going to do that thing. Go down the road if you're looking for someone that is actually doing the work that makes the majority of their revenue in business from doing the thing they're teaching you, rather than teaching up the chain. I don't have a problem with people. Let's say someone's only earning $50,000 a year, right? In Australian dollars or so, in US, maybe $28,000. If that's what they're earning, that's cool. If they're going to teach people below them, they're going to teach people from the start how to make 25K. Great. Teach down the line. It's fine. But if there's no point in someone teaching you in the business mentoring space, whether it be marketing, sales, acquisition, all the rest of it, there's no point in finding someone to teach you if they haven't walked the road ahead. So I would be asking for, or at least doing some research as to what skin in the game do they have? How long have they been doing the thing? Is there tangible proof that they have built a thing on their own in the industry you want to actually look into, the industry that you're trying to walk through? And then secondly, if there's things to avoid, it would be one, I'm always of the opinion that a conversation should never cost anything, especially an initial one. If someone's just trying to get a cash grab, the initial talk, like, hey, like just to talk to me, you have to pay me. One, either they're way too far down the line where their time has become so valuable that they don't see any point in speaking to someone below, or it's a cash grab because they're not confident in their systems and service. Second to that, when I firmly believe mindset comes into business, it's a part of it. But if that is the only thing that someone can teach you is to how to have a better mindset in your business, how to look internal, and not actually have strategy, but have everything up in the wazzy woo of, everything's great. If that's all they're going to talk about, that everything comes back to your mindset and they're going to throw cold plungers at you and say that you need to look at your internal work and everything becomes like personal development, probably not going to help with business strategy. You need people that can actually go down the road of what is strategy, what is like, how do I look at data? How do I interpret data? Because it's good and well for me to say, hey, track your numbers, but what do you do with those? And having a framework to work with that will be the thing that shifts you forward rather than looking internal and thinking about mindset.
Yeah, you can light incense all you want, and at the end of the day, you're really just blowing smoke up your ass. So yeah,
Absolutely.
It's always tough. And also, like, you want to talk about qualifications. It's like at a certain point, you might just want to talk to a qualified psychotherapist or a cognitive behavioral therapist or something. Because if someone's telling you to do that and that's working for you, it's like, imagine if you hired the services of an actual professional. You talked about teaching down, which I think is, and I see this from an academic standpoint, with our business being kind of squarely rooted in the education space. I see a lot of competitors that are fifth graders teaching fourth graders, which is like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. But as you ascend, the air gets thinner and there's less people climbing. At your level, I'll run an analogy by you that I like, and it's something that, again, I don't give business advice nor medical advice, so don't listen to anything I say. And now that I think about it, you should probably just turn this thing off. But I think about the chemical bonds and valences, right? And which is funny because I fucking hated chemistry until I started making drugs, and then it was like I liked it enough so I didn't burn my fucking house down trying to make steroids in my bathtub. But like other than that, chemistry go fuck off. But it's like the idea of, there's the nucleus, which is you and finding your voice and the thing that only you can do. You talked about that from like a personal branding perspective and a content creation perspective. Then we have these valences, right? Just like, if we go through the periodic table, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, so on, right? And if we remember the structure, the nomenclature, the structure of these Bohr diagrams, we have a nucleus and then we have a first valence, and that has 2 electrons, and we have a second valence and it has 8 electrons, and every valence after that will fill up until it gets to 8 electrons. And I think of tasks in a business, like I knew right away that I fucking hated the media side, which is hilarious because I'm looking down the barrel of a $4,000 camera. I got some stupid studio light that apparently I paid too much for because it keeps turning off, and we're both looking down these mics that Joe Rogan had, and that's why everyone has them. And I got a laptop here and I got a screen there. It's like, for a guy who hates technology, it's like this office, I'm literally, my landlord messaged me. I just moved to this sidebar. I'll get back to the chemistry thing in a minute. My landlord messaged me. I just moved into this new place, and he goes, "Hey man, they haven't transferred the electricity bill over to your name yet, so I keep getting the bills. It's my second month." And he sends me it to. He's a cool guy. Like, he sends me an email. He's a lawyer. He's in the tech space. We get on really well, and he just goes, "I've been renting this place out for some time now. I've never seen an electricity bill this high. Are you mining Bitcoin?" Like, serious question. And I was like, "Nah, mate. I just got like this. So there's lights. It's quite literally a whole production." But I knew early days that was an outer valence task. Now, when you knock an electron out an outer valence, there's not a lot of energy that gets expended, right? But, in the current landscape of our world today, some people might be familiar with the chemistry of thermonuclear weapon. There's a valence that's closest. There's an electron that's closest to the nucleus in the inner valence. And if you can fucking displace that single electron, like basically what a hydrogen bomb is, there's a lot of energy that gets released. And I like that visual because, as I took media off my plate, I realized, well, okay, I did it for a long time and I actually got like pretty okay at it. So now I can like appraise the next guy coming in and say, "Hey, what's your ISO at? Or what's your frame rate at? Or how many frames per second are you shooting in? Or like, is that a mirrorless camera? What type of lens is that? Oh, it's 75 millimeter, 25. Oh, it's a 50. Okay." So I had, but no skin off my nose to get rid of it. Then I got rid of it early. But as I progressed through business ownership and actually started to realize that I didn't have a job for myself, that I was looking down the barrel of actually owning a business, it became harder and harder to knock off these tasks. You kind of alluded to it earlier about ego. It's like, well, I like being like, I remember my close friend of mine and a coach, probably one of the first who's taught a course outside of me in the company, was Killian. And I remember the time the first lecture happened without me there, and I was like, part of me was like, "Oh, this is going to blow up," and then everything was fine. And I was like, "Wait a minute, where am I? The company doesn't need me to teach lectures anymore. What is it?" So those are my inner valence things, and it becomes more difficult. And I have to be more introspective. More ice baths and incense up my ass. Joke about what are the things that I do every day to buy my time back. What is it at your scale, at your level, with what you have on the horizon? What are the things that what are your known unknowns of things that you're like, I gotta stop doing this, but there's part of me that just doesn't want to give it up?
Right now I'm in the place where it's team management. So we're in the process of, like, early into next year, I'll be moving into upper levels of management to have teams below, rather than just the coaches all reporting into me and having, I guess, the weight of all of their clients and all of their customers, the success metrics and stuff, being me that interprets them. The next thing for me will be actually hands off on like team management and team process. I think though for me, like that's something that one, I don't know if we're ready for. I think that'll be the next thing, but I don't know if we're ready for yet because I haven't gotten to a place where I feel comfortable with where the team's at as far as our systems around culture, our systems around internal culture specifically, what's repeatable and what's not, and ultimately key man syndrome in the business. That's something that I feel like we need to pay a lot more attention to before I start up a level of management. Essentially to try and remove that stickiness from client to coach exclusively. That needs to still be there, but long term, we need the client stickiness to maintain to the company. If there is ever a churn rate of coaches, if there's ever change of systems or service and process, that brand equity will hold true and be the thing that keeps us stable. And that's right now our big problem solve. So I feel like for me, that needs me in the team, that needs me knowing what's going on to figure out that problem. But once we do that, the next known thing for me to exit from would be that management and just hiring a general manager, senior team that they all report into.
What has been the most difficult one so far to let go of?
If you had asked me that a year ago, I would have said the coaching itself. I think like when I made that transition initially to move into running the business rather than being a technician in it, it was a big ego thing for me to hold on to. I didn't think that I could step back completely. I had clients that had been with me 9 years, and I didn't want to let go of those people. I thought that those people would be best served with me, even though like I was at the time not a great coach. I had gotten so deep into the business world. I had gotten more passionate about the growth of the business than the doing of the business, and I was not worth what they paid. But there was still this subjective hold onto, well, no, I need to keep them. I need to keep doing that. Fast forward a year so I stopped coaching completely. So as I said, I had clients that had been with me 9 years, and I'd only recently gotten rid of them. I'd say maybe 6 to 12 months ago, thereabouts, and passed them into one of the team members. So I had a 4 or 5 clients that had been with me so long that I just didn't want to let go of. And like I said, I was pretty shit. I was not great at coaching. I was not good at the service anymore. I was just slow at replies, low care factor, and so on. Once I got rid of those final 4 to 5 and passed them into other team members, I realized that 1, they got a better service, and 2, I got more time back and more freedom to do the thing I actually enjoyed. So I don't think in hindsight now that was the hardest thing to let go. I think it's the hardest thing to let go of initially. The hardest thing for me though has been the finance. To completely go, absolutely, hey, I'm not being involved in this. And let our CTO just take care of all the financial decisions in the company. It has been hard because it's been something that I create emotional attachment to different milestones of the business, different points of revenue or different points of profit and so on. And doing now a quarterly check-in to make me really back off that and know that I just need to keep doing the work without the weekly, I guess, confirmation bias that I'm on the right track. Now I get it quarterly. Now we go through all our metrics and we do some strategy off all of those numbers every quarter. And we have monthly check-ins to just make sure shit's not hitting fans and we're not fucked. But ultimately I get my confirmation bias every 12 weeks. And that's for me been a very big, like, okay, delayed gratification, do the work and then see if it actually yielded any sort of return.